Jim Cornette told Dutch Mantel and Jeff Jarrett that he didn't want to get in the way of their business or cause a problem due to Vince Russo being Booker, so he gave his notice. He suggested coming at Bound for Glory, having a heel give him a beating, and that would be a way to write him out. He said in January they could reevaluate the situation basically based on if Russo had been fired by that point. I love that. I love that so much.
I do love a generational hater.
I love him being like, come back to me in 3 months, he'll be gone, I'll come back. Jarrett told Cornette that they needed him and that Russo was a changed man and asked to give them a chance. Cornette cut his Russo promo about how he buried Cornette, Jim Ross, and anyone with an accent at the studio, and that he hated Russo for ruining careers, booking WCW into oblivion, exposing the business to an undreamed of level, and ending noting he's booked for 3 companies. The first he walked out on with no notice, the second one he destroyed, and the third he got removed from power. Jarrett told Cornette he wouldn't accept his resignation and they would continue to book him. He did tell Cornette he could no-show his book dates, but noted he'd be the one that would come off looking bad in that situation. Jarrett asked Cornette to give the company a chance, and the agreement was made that the two would avoid each other at all costs. Russo would never interact with or give orders to Cornette, and Cornette would never try to physically attack Russo.
So funny that that's the compromise. He will not tell you what to do, and you cannot assault him.
These are fair terms under which these two men can coexist.
It's really funny how, like, when I was, 13, I was like, fuck yeah, Jim Cornette, right? Like, fuck Russo, what a bitch, we hate him, he ruined the business, etc., etc. And now I'm like, fuck Jim Cornette, Vince Russo the GOAT.
It is funny how those things change. Because I would have been an OG Jim Cornette podcast listener, like pre his current podcast, when he would just say how shit Vince McMahon was and talk about 80s wrestling. He had a fun little podcast going there when you had to download fucking files off a forum or whatever the fuck. I can't remember what that podcast network thing was called. It was like Bill Barron's thing, I think. But Cornette had a podcast there, and it was perfectly fine and not as racist and horrible and trying to tear wrestling to the ground. And yeah, now I'm just like, why would you ever listen to that man? Why would you ever give him a moment of your day? Why would you make him like you directly put that man into your ears by choice?
It's crazy how Vince Russo has been vindicated.
Well, Vince Russo, listen, you don't want to watch Vince Russo's podcast either.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know much about Vince Russo's podcast, to be fair. But listen, I have been exposed to Jim Cornette's podcast clips art, and it cannot be worse than that.
No, it's about on par, really. It's the same, modern... He doesn't do racist thumbnails as much as Jim Cornette just so happens to trip and fall into doing. But...
the luck of that guy, huh?
I know, it's every so often, it's just, how does it happen that he just happens to do racist thumbnails twice a year?
Someone should really, get onto his social guy.
Maybe they're not the heroes.
That's what I'm about. You're telling me that everyone is as bad, so I don't know anymore.
But Russo does just as much racism and Islamophobia and shite, and the same amount of modern wrestling is bad on his podcast. So you don't want to listen to Vinny Ru's podcast.
Yeah, but I don't know. Isn't that most Americans?
That is it's the Rovert thing where people. He's always like, why are you giving out to a wrestler for having mainstream U.S. political values? And he's like, he's dead right.
Yeah, it's I guess, I suppose. But 80% of the people in that country. I mean, who am I to fucking talk? Look at mine.
That is the ruling party of that country. So that is their mentality. So what can you say? They won. We lost. Fuck.
What do you mean we?
I don't put myself in the same box as those people.
Yeah, what do you mean we?
Oh no, I'm gonna get kicked out of Australia.
Let me tell you about my beliefs on my new podcast.
The night before Bound for Glory, Cornette caused the scene when he got riled up by fans talking about Russo and started verbally abusing Russo. Russo wasn't there, but he was loud, and people there said he made such a scene that they thought he was cussing out Russo and they'd have to break up a fight. After Bound for Glory, his doctor was mad at him for continuing to work and talk while sick. Cornette was mad at his performance on the show and because he lost his voice. Yeah, he didn't have his voice in that promo segment of Bound for Glory, probably because he was both sick.
He was fucking screaming into Russo in the parking lot with fans.
He was using whatever voice he had left to fucking scream about Vince Russo at a fan fest.
That Vince Russo piece of shit!
No, it's made it to the main show! Liam has been workshopping his Jim Cornette, and I think, it's getting there.
It's getting there. It's going to take time. It's the second time I've ever done it.
Like, we saw a whole evolution of Dixie where she started normal, got unhinged, and went back to somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. So who knows where Jim Cornette can go?
I feel like it's going to always be the same because it's so accurate.
Kevin Nash has been telling friends he's eyeing Jim Cornette's role as figurehead commissioner. There is a feeling that Cornette won't last long unless Vince Russo doesn't last long.
It's a real war of attrition.
You know what the funny part is? They worked together for over 2 years.
Which is kind of fucking crazy.
And I don't think Cornette is out as part of, like, Russo shit. He's out as part of, like, Jarrett losing power shit.
Which is probably similar, to be fair.
Yeah, Cornette kind of goes in, like, 2009 when a lot of the Jarrett allies are being cleared out by Dixie when they had their falling out. So...
But, like, Russo was a Dixie guy, so...
Yeah, that makes sense. But, like, he wasn't cleared out because he couldn't get along with Russo. I'm sure there was countless fucking blow-ups in that 2 years, and I'm sure somebody had, like, 9 million headaches because they had to keep these two without killing each other. But, you know what? It lasted 2 years.
It's kind of crazy to imagine that those two managed to, like, bottle it for a couple years.
That he at least managed to not physically assault him. He did abide by those terms.
To our knowledge.
Jeff Jarrett will be off TV for the next few months, but he will be backstage at Impact tapings and pay-per-views handling the management side of TNA operation.